we got to talk about Grady Little, because before I knew anything about this documentary series, no shot I would have predicted Grady Little. First of all, me personally, I have a ton of respect for him for doing that,
Yeah.
because this has to be a dark, dark, dark time in his life/career to discuss. And you could kind of see like the pain in his face when he was discussing it. He had a little smirk, but it was kind of hiding that. So, like, what did you guys think about A, what he had to say, and B, like the fact that he was even included in this and agreed to do it?
I have mad respect. Like, I think his perspective is important to the story. I wouldn't have necessarily expected him to do it because I don't know how much benefit he can get by doing it, but I think it's good that he did it. And I think his commentary was awesome, and he had some of the best lines in the entire thing. What did he say? He said analytics are like bikinis. They show you a lot, but they don't tell the whole story or something like that.
That's
That was
right.
great.
That was the quote. I remember as I was asking you guys about Grady Little just now, I was like, what was the weird quote he said? I knew it was something bizarre. I didn't write it down. Yeah, that was it with his accent too. Just talking like this, talking about bikinis.
Yeah, it was. He was great. He was great, and I think the consensus around everyone who watched this is going to be that mad respect gained for Grady Little. Like, good job, man. Like, you went on something. You talked about one of the probably the lowest point in his career, maybe the lowest point in his life.
Yeah.
And you know what? You're going to come away from it with tons of people with mad respect for you. Like, good job, man. Like, Grady Little, didn't know much about him because he really only managed the 1 year. Like, 03 is kind of the beginning of my Red Sox memory, and it was the end of it, so I barely remember him. And now when I think about Grady Little, yeah, it was like right?
I do gotta mention you guys were talking about really good quotes. I think my favorite was at the beginning of episode 2 where he said, in an election between me and Osama bin Laden, I wouldn't win.
Yeah.
Like that. Dude, that literally, I had to like perk my ears up. I was just like, what did he say?
He's funny as hell. He's funny.
Yeah.
But he felt adamant on, like, he still felt like the decisions that he made were the right ones to make. Like when he was talking about pulling Pedro in the 8th inning, like he was still pretty adamant that, like, I knew what I was doing, even though everyone else around there. I think he is like what the Cubs think of Steve Bartman before they broke the curse. Little is like that for the Sox.
Yeah. Yeah. I think just beyond like the 03 thing, I think the inclusion of Grady in like just the disaster class man Game 7 lays the perfect foundation for why Tito was such the perfect manager for Theo at the time, for ownership, for the players. Like, it was just a complete 180. Like, Grady was like 1970 style baseball, go with the gut, I'm the boss, like whatever. And then Tito, all he was talking about was putting a dip in, being in his underwear and hanging out with the guys.
Yeah.
And then he just and they were like, all right, awesome. And then my favorite, the Grady Little thing was after they conclude Game 7, he goes, yep, that's where I'm out. Stands up, just shows his gut, takes the mic out, and walks out.
Dude, we're a Grady Little podcast now. This is a pro Grady Little. By the way, he's with the Pirates now. He's a senior advisor in their front office.
What? He's working in baseball?
Really?
According to Wikipedia. Yeah. He's been there since 2014 to present, according to Wikipedia. Little joined the Pittsburgh Pirates as a senior advisor to the team's front office.
He's been there for a decade? What the hell do they have him doing? If
advising.
He doesn't like analytics, what the hell is he advising on? What's he
just
doing?
grunts. He just goes like...
That's how Derek Shelton made it.
He's like that Browns coach who got viral when he went and his gut will move. Like,
isn't he? That guy's from. I think that guy's from Massachusetts. The fat Browns coach with the jumping belly.
Can you guys imagine a conversation in like this day and age between Ben Sherrington and Grady Little?
Oh God, no! Yeah, there's no way he works. There's no way he works. He's worked there for 10 years. I do not. We need to find this out. We gotta.
He's the special advisor. Do we have any Pirates connections? Who do we? Brad phone know anyone with the Pirates?
We gotta find someone who knows Nick York, and we'll get Nick York to find out.
Yeah.
Or maybe
Hey,
we'll go find Quinn Priester or something and ask him.
by the way, and I know we're kind of jumping all over the place, but like this documentary made my brain go all over the place. We talk about these old guys not knowing, not using analytics. It's not that they don't know about them. Did you guys notice Peter Gammons had a quote about OPS from the year 2005? Like they had an interview of him post 2004. It was 2005, I believe. It was 4 or 5. It was like after the World Series. And he said like, yeah, the OPS difference was XYZ. My jaw dropped.
I didn't catch that. You're right, because I didn't know what OPS was back then.
Dude, yeah, I didn't know that people even used it back then. 20 years ago, people using OPS. I figured they were using on base and slugging, but not OPS, like combining the two. So that was interesting to me. And Tito talking about how he used analytics back in 2004, not a ton, but he still utilized them. That kind of caught me off guard too. It was just, and that's kind of the greater point that we were talking about, how different the dissemination of information is today. Like we never heard about that shit back then, but now we hear all like, Dave Roberts in 2018 giving his reasoning for like, I used Ryan Madsen for the 4th time in a row, and because blah 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 blah, and lefty sat Cody Bellinger. Like it's just so different back then, and it was cool to see for an old guy like myself to take a little time travel back to the early 2000s.
Well, speaking of old guys, Sammy, I do need to ask you, because last episode you did say that you were angry just watching John Henry speak. Like, how are your feelings now? Are you still mad just to see him just reflect on 04?
The fuck did he keep calling it? He was like, it was an epic quest to defeat the Yankees. No, I honestly, an epic quest. I thought it was gonna make me angry. It made me more sad than anything. I was ready to get angry and like be like, fuck you, John Henry. What happened? But I was kind of just like, man, I used to admire this guy so much. Like he cared so much about the Red Sox, cared so much about how well they played and how it reflected on him. And I know he was always making money. Of course, he's always making money. He owns the fucking Red Sox. But just like how enthusiastic he spoke about that time of Red Sox baseball. I was caught off guard by that. I thought it was going to make me mad. It didn't. Make me sad.
I thought he was fine, but just knowing how much they talked to him, I would give anything. And this goes beyond John Henry. Like I just want to see the uncut footage. I know they have so much, and I know that they had other episodes of this doc that they were ready to put together. And so there's a ton of uncut footage that the public's just not going to see. I don't know how it's possible to get that, but for John Henry in particular, and guys like Theo and Jed Hoyer and Tito, and some of the stories from the play, like, oh my God, what I would give to see the uncut footage that like they have of Tom Werner and John Henry, because those guys can't talk for hours without slipping up in some way or saying something that they shouldn't. And we would learn so much, not just about like the Red Sox of the past. Like we'd certainly learn things that happened in the past that we didn't know about, but we'd also learn probably stuff about what's going through their minds about today. They're just like, they have the gold. I want the gold.
Yeah. I was just thinking about John Henry uncut. But yeah, another interesting thing about ownership was Tom Werner was very honest about his like how he was writing the, what do you call it? Like not a resignation, like basically like a thank you, Red Sox fans. Like we fell short again, kind of. And he was writing that during Game 4 of the ALCS. I thought that was cool. I think the more and more I think about Tom Werner, which I hope is not a lot, the more I kind of hate him less. I won't say like him, but hate him less than I did a year ago, just because I think that I think it's John Henry who's making the team cheap, not him. So getting to hear him talk in kind of a format that's designed to make him look good. Like obviously it's Netflix. The Red Sox are probably only giving Netflix their time contingent on them having a say in the last cut. That's just how it goes. So, I guess maybe a little bit of sympathy for Tom Werner after the Full Throttle thing. Like I think that he actually meant it. I think that was John Henry who made it not happen. So, I thought that was interesting to hear Tom Werner kind of give his 2 cents on his perspective, because I don't think anyone really thinks about him too much when it comes to 2004. They think about John Henry and Theo.
Yeah. One part of the documentary that made me legitimately laugh out loud was when John Henry had said, like, Tom Hicks had called him up, said, we're thinking about moving A-Rod. Do you want to have a meeting with him? John Henry's like, yeah, like, I'll come sit down with him. Like, just informational, like, really low key. And then Tom Hicks just immediately leaked that they had a meeting. And it just cuts to like 5 different news outlets breaking that A-Rod's going to the Red Sox.
Yeah.
Just a bag move out of Tom Hicks.
Yeah. So all in all, just I know we all had so much fun watching it. Obviously looking forward to the next Red Sox Netflix doc about the 04 or the 24 season that I believe is scheduled to come out. I thought they said January at first, but I think it's more like March or April or something.
Yeah,
so,
right before the season. I thought that was the consensus. Oh, wait, one more thing. Trot Nixon, the way he was sitting like this, like the entire time, he's just like, oh man, dirt dog. That was so Trot Nixon. I got a kick out of it with his camo Red Sox hat.
Yeah,
he's talking about Kurt Schilling's his ankle, like the suture that they had to do, and he's like, yeah, it looked like hamburger meat.
Yeah,
Trot's funny.
All the guys they were all terrific. All the players, like they're exactly like they're portrayed exactly how you'd want to imagine they are.
Yeah. Hey, and exactly how you'd like to imagine. Could say that about like Kurt Schilling. It just bums me out that he's such a hard guy to like, I guess you could say, because his story is so friggin' cool and he just torched it. So it was cool to hear about, but like every time he talks about or anyone talks about the Kurt Schilling stuff in 04, I'm kind of just like, I wish you were more chill, less douche, but you're not. You can't change a guy like that, but still a cool moment, just not as cool as it could have been.
One of the very, very underrated funny moments in the documentary is when they ask, how did you celebrate clinching the wild card in 2003? And it cuts to Timlin. Not coming back to me right now. And then they cut to Derek Lowe. I have no idea. And it cuts to Kevin Millar. Goes, greatest night of my fucking life, man. Breaking it down.
Oh, okay. One last thing. And then we can move on. Sorry, I just keep having... I love this thing. This was awesome to watch. Derek Lowe talking about how he had like no confidence whatsoever going into Game 4 of the ALCS. That was... Game 4 or 5. Yeah, Game 4. Okay. That was pretty funny. He was just like, yeah, we got smoked the night before, facing the Yankees, backs against the wall. He was
that's like how a lot of the pitchers talked. They like outside of like Pedro and Schilling, it was a lot of like, yeah, and I just kind of like found myself in that situation. Like, dude, I was scared. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I was just out there hoping for the best, man. Like, yeah. That was. I have to ask a question to close this up. Who do you think was the MVP of the doc?
Pedro.
Why Pedro? Why Pedro?
I was cracking up watching this when he's doing like the remember. It just cuts to 2 clips of him breaking the Yankees' wrists with fastballs. He's like, I sent them both to the hospital. Just imagine like the ball the hospital, and the next guy. And he was so proud of it too. He's like, yeah, I like injured all of them. Remember. Yeah. Psychopath.
Pat, who's your MVP?
Jason Varitek's thighs.
Oh, dude, he's got the most large thighs of all time. Shocking.
But he was flashing those pasty things the entire documentary. Anyways, my real MVP. Honorable mention to Theo. A lot of good stuff. Content-wise, it has to be Kevin Millar. Kevin Millar was an absolute gold mine between the stories, the clubhouse stuff, even like the throwback, like video
providing the footage.
Yeah. Like his fingerprints were all over that thing. Holy smoke, lizards has already found its way into my vocabulary. and it will stay there.
Holy smoking lizards.
To see kind of like retrospect, just how integral he was in that clubhouse. Like he is the reason pretty much everybody got along.
I do also love hearing Kevin Millar talk about when he got traded to Japan or was supposed to go to Japan before the Red Sox, and hearing him try to pronounce Chunichi. He's like, yep, Chunichi Dragons. Good try, Kevin.
When I think about who the MVP should be, it's like you have to figure out which avenue you're going to go, because if you want to go from an entertainment standpoint, you could go with Pedro, or you could go with Millar, or you could go with Grady Little. If you want to go from a storytelling standpoint, I think your only choices are Theo and Jed Hoyer. It's tough. Millar kind of is the only one who kind of intersects both.
Not Pedro? I thought Pedro did a good job. Like when he's talked about, or was this? I might be thinking Millar when Pedro asked him, "Who do you want on the Yankees?" after Millar got drilled, and he was asking Millar who he wants Pedro to hit on the Yankees, and he was like, "I pick Soriano." And then Pedro, I think it was both of them actually.
Millar brought it up, but yeah, Pedro talked about it.
That shit
I don't know,
was so
but part
cool,
of me
man.
also wants to go Theo, because like, goddamn, that A-Rod saga, the original A-Rod trade conversation stuff is so fascinating to me. Like, I'll go back and watch the special on that thing time to time. That shit is just so crazy. And like hearing the behind the scenes, and like, yeah, A-Rod was like, nope, you're coming here at 2 a.m. You're coming upstairs. A-Rod was in a fucking 3-piece suit and was like, let's fucking get down to business, because I'm buttoned up Alex Rodriguez. Like,
weirdo, dude. Total weirdo.
Yeah.
Total weirdo. Theo's like a 20-year-old kid. It's 2 a.m. Let Theo sleep. You friggin' psychopath loser with that weird ass slap that he did on Bronson Arroyo's glove. Not a fan of A-Rod.